So a couple of things you're going to need to make this little project. This is what you're making, is this little sheet metal box. Is you're going to need this layout diagram for sure. It's in with the sheet metal tools in the toolbox. You're going to use a series of snips to cut the metal. So we got red, green, and yellow. We'll explain what those are all about. You're going to need a scribe to scratch the metal and mark the metal, because we don't use a pencil, we use a scribe. And we've got some edge scribes here as well, and we'll see in the video how they are used. You'll want to use a framing square and a ruler. Okay, actually the ruler ended up working better, and you'll see that. We're measuring in inches, so make sure you're using the inch side of the ruler, but the square will be helpful to check to make sure the metal is square. You may need a putty knife or a straight flat screwdriver and a hammer, and we're going to make sure all this stuff is in the toolbox along with all the sheet metal material as well. And it might be helpful to have some sort of marker, which I'm going to get, and so you can mark off some of the spots on your metal. Okay, and that's what we need to kind of get going on this little sheet metal build project. Okay, let's get started making this box. First thing we have to determine is the overall dimensions of it. So we take all our measurements and add them up. So we've got a 1/2 inch safety edge here, 2 inches here is 2.5, 6 is 8.5, 10.5, and another 1/2 inch is 11. So it's 11 wide by 1/2, and 2 is 2.5, and 3 is 5.5, and 2 is 7.5, and 1/2 is 8. So it's 11 by 8. So almost a piece of paper. So I'm going to mark off 11 inches here with my scribe, like that. Take my square. This one's got kind of a bad edge. Drive a line down there. Make sure you're holding your square nice and tight. Now the first thing I should have done is check that this piece is actually square and I can use it. It is sitting pretty square right there, so that's good. So that's my 8 inches, so I'm going to use this corner as my starting point. I'm going to measure up 8 inches. Sorry, that was my 11 inches. Now I don't like measuring to the end of a ruler, so I'm going to put my ruler at 9 and mark off at 1 inch. I'm making a little V. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I'll show you in a minute here. Make sure the lights in the shop are actually pretty good here. So make sure my square is sitting nice and square, and scribe that line across there. And just to help, I'll put some little marks on here near the edge of my metal. So when I get it in the break, I can see what is happening and whereabouts I need to be. Oh, that one's actually wrong. Should be there. Double check my measurement over here. Oh, I'm off. Wow. Okay, so that square wasn't being held very square. So we will mark it off here again, 8 inches. I guess if I do it this way, I could use the end of the ruler. Put a mark on here and here. Drag that across. And now, more importantly, we rub on that. That might wipe off a bit. Yeah, and then we'll put a mark here. Okay, so I'm going to cut that to finish length, 8 by 11 inches. So I've got my good 8 by 11 inch piece, and now I'm going to mark out this pattern on here, this net diagram. And I could do a lot of measuring with a ruler and scribing, but we've got these nice scribing tools that have a flat face on them and a point, and they're graduated on the edges, allow us to do some scribing. So I know my safety edge is a 1/2 inch all the way around. So I've set this one to a 1/2 inch. And what I'm going to do is just scribe all 4 sides of this. Just take it near the end of a bench, keep it up against the edge, and drag it across. Got to make sure you're holding it nice and firm against the edge of the metal so that you don't get a bunch of double lines, because then it'll be hard to tell where to cut and where to break, or bend as they call it. So breaking is the term they use for bending metal. Okay. So there's 1/2 inch all the way around. Again, I'm not sure if you can see that, but I will put I won't put marks on there yet because I got a bunch of cutting I need to do, and I'll show you that in a minute. So now 1/2 inch, and now I have 2 inches for my sides because the box is 2 inches deep. So 2.5 inches, 2.5. So I've set my long one to 2.5 inches. And when they get a little longer like this, they're a little harder to keep straight. So you want to make sure you're kind of keeping it and just scratching the metal. You don't have to dig into it, but you want to try and eliminate doing double lines. There. So this is why the outside shape is so important. Okay, so now what I've got is if I draw my lines, I've got my edge here, this is going to intersect here, 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 there's my intersect point there, intersect, intersect. Just like that. Oh, there, that one's in the wrong spot again. Some of this metal has scratches on it, so you want to make sure you're in the right area. So I got this basic shape done. Now I want to add the tabs. So the tabs are 3/4 of an inch. So I could take 3/4 of an inch off my 2.5, which would take me to 1 3/4. And I'm just going to scribe them in these spaces. I don't want to scribe right through here because that's going to make things confusing. So I'm just going to scribe it there and here. And the tabs attach to the long ends only. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get a picture of that for you so you can kind of see what's going on there. Yeah, hopefully you're able to see that in the video. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start cutting out this waste stuff and getting rid of it. You'll notice that I didn't angle the tabs with my scribe lines. I can do that after with my snips and make that work. But let's just talk quickly about snips. We got 3 kinds of snips here: green, red, and yellow. The green and red are right and left-handed. So what you'll notice is if we set them up like this, is you'll notice the organization of their teeth. On the green handle, which is left hand, the left hand side is going to push down. On the red handle, the right hand side is going to push down because the metal will kind of bend up. So depending on how you want to cut is how you want to be using your snips. A straight set of snips cuts straight and doesn't bend the metal out of the way. So if you think about cutting metal, right? So these ones, this is going to want to cut and bring this side of the metal up towards you and bend it. So when we've got the metal, we want to save our metal on the left-hand side. We use the green snips, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to cut down here, and you can see it's lifting up the metal on the right-hand side, and I'm trying to keep my left-hand side of my metal straight. Okay, so you're going to have to work. Snips are something new. Be careful with the metal, you don't cut yourself. Okay. So then here, I could grab the red handle ones, and now this would cut this way and push it up. Okay, and we can flatten that all out in a minute again, but that's what we want to do. We're going to get rid of this corner. This is where I'm going to come in here and cut on the angle and cut this off. Just a little piece so it'll push it down and out of the way. Be mindful of your straps so you know where they're going. Okay. Here, green handle, and you don't have to switch. I'll show you the straight ones on the next cut, but it does help with the metal and kind of bending the metal. This metal is a little heavier than I thought it would be for you guys to cut. And I actually have to cut right into this tab too, so maybe a little more forceful. Let me try cutting this way. There are such things as power shears, and you could use them as well. You could also use gloves to do this. This is definitely thicker than I thought it was going to be. Let's have a look at some regular stuff. So this needs to be cut right through here. And this is where I can start cutting off my tab. Right, so I got that. Use these guys. Come in here like this. This is my first time in a long time doing some metal work, so no excuse really, but just saying. This is definitely a heavier gauge than I thought it was going to be in terms of bending, so we'll see how this project goes. Okay, let's try the straight ones. Watch this. Straight ones actually work kind of nice too. Cut out the triangle, cut off the triangle. Okay. Again, being mindful of your scraps. That's kind of what it's looking like so far. I'm going to stick with the straights. They seem to be doing a nice job. You can bend the metal up into out of the way a bit. You don't want to be too aggressive with it, because if you kink it, once you bend metal never flattens in. It always has that crease in it. It's not like wood where you can sand it and get rid of the scratch or get rid of the groove. Okay, and that's our finished net diagram right there. And now we're going to do some bending and breaking to make it look like a box. We're going to start by bending the safety edges up and over. And we want those safety edges on the inside of the box, so while the outside of the box has a nice flat edge. So we're going to start by doing that. We'll take you over the break and show you how that works. So this is our 3-in-1 sheet metal machine, and at the bottom here it has a shear underneath here that allows you to cut metal. And everything moves up and down as we spin this handle on the side. This middle section is our brake or bender, and it's got a number of pieces in it. I've separated them so you can get inside your box and break it the way you need to break it. And on top here we have rollers to either flatten metal or roll metal and give it a curve. Okay. So what we want to do is when we're breaking metal or bending it, is we want to get it underneath here and line it up with the teeth. Make sure you can see your mark, and you bring this up a little tighter. This one's a little bit different than what I'm used to because the bottom moves and not the top actually. So just tighten it up a little bit. Make sure you can see your scribe line. Oh, and make sure you go the right way when you want to break it. Oh, like this side in a little bit. There we go. So then just turn this and it'll break at 90 degrees. Okay, and the nice thing about this one is if you keep going, then it loosens up. Break this halfway now. You can bring this, stick this in here. And I can flatten that safety edge nice and tight. Just like that. That's what a safety edge looks like. Okay, we got it flattened over. This is the outside. Now we got a nice safe edge on the outside there. So we're gonna do the same with this one. Sorry, this thing is rolling. Maybe not a great system with it on this cart. So open it up, bring it up tight so you can kind of place it and hold it there. Don't be afraid to fine tune it. Tighten that up. It bends. Bring it back down. Okay, so there's my first break. You can see that, I hope. And then we'll flatten her out a bit now. I'm gonna stand on this. Oh. Yeah, I gotta get used to it. Oh, see, that's not good. Like that. Oh, I'm making a mess of this safety edge. I think I'm gonna have to give you a different tool to make that work. Kind of making a mess of this. Gonna undo that. So I don't have all my tools here. So I have some more sheet metal tools at home that I'm gonna bring in, but I was able to flatten that out a little bit. Can't fix this crease, so I'm just gonna push that down quite tight with the brake. Maybe what we need to get you doing is using a hammer first to tap the gap a little bit tighter, and then it'll allow you to definitely do a nicer safety edge. Okay, so that's still got a good edge on it. Inside's looking kind of ugly. outside's got a bit of a tink there, but I'm gonna take that to the floor and tap it a little bit more. There we go. It ain't pretty, but it's my first one. Okay, so let's do these short edges now. Safety edge, same thing. And this time we'll tighten it up on the floor with a hammer. I'm gonna do them both on here first. Flip it around. Tap it a little bit closed. Just tap it a little bit so it looks like that, right? It doesn't have to be totally closed. And now when I bring it in here, this machine will work much better in terms of making it a clean safety edge. Okay, so there we go. All my safety edges are done. Okay, so now we have to think about how we're going to break this to make it a box. We got to start with some things first. So what we want to do is we want these tabs to be on the inside of the box and actually fold into that safety edge. So we might have to open it up a little bit with a screwdriver. Guess I could have left them open. That would have been a good idea. So we want to break this line first. So everything folds up. And the same on this side, and then we'll come in and fold these sides last. I'm gonna use this pin here. Actually, I'm gonna use this one here because this is the long one. I wanna do all this at one time. And I'm gonna break that, 90. So this is actually a little more than 90, which I forgot to mention. So that's more than we want it to be. But it'll allow me to then kind of pull this out. So we don't want to go too far. So I'm learning as I go here too. So we close this all the way up. It's actually more like a, definitely more than 90 or less than 90, depending on what angle you measure. So then we just want to do a little bit, take it out. There's 90, pretty good 90 right there. Now we're going to bend the sides up. That's where I need this little 6-inch one. Sit it on there flat. Try and line it up with the groove. Oh. Watch your safety edge. Okay, so here my safety edge is on the outside. I want to get it, or my tab. I want to get it to the inside. I don't know if that's going to work or not. Just be careful you don't cut yourself. Yeah, I'm going to break that a little bit more. Okay, so there we go. Okay, it's not totally put together yet, so I'm going to separate it and try and slide these tabs underneath this safety edge here. This one's looking a little bit tight, so I'm going to have to get a screwdriver or something just to open it up a little bit. And then I can probably re-squeeze it on this tang here, or this wedge here of the brake. So let's see how that goes. All right, so I think this one here I can just pull out, and yeah, see that'll just slide in. So I'm just pulling it out. It just slides into that tab there. And now when I slide them in, okay, they're on the inside of that safety tab. Okay, this side, I do the same thing. That one's good. But this one I think is going to be a little snug. Yeah, this one's a little snug, so I'm going to have to get something in there. I think that's going to be a better tool for this. I can get it in the end here. There we go, yeah. You just want to bend it open a little bit, just enough so you can catch that in there like that. Okay. So now to help it stay closed, we'll just take it to the brake and break it a little bit more. I'm going to put it in here. Bring this up slowly, find out where it is. Just give it a little more of a push. There we go, that worked out nicely actually. Same on this side. You just want to make sure you hit the same spot. If you roll that right around, it's going to bend it as far as possible. This side's still not quite. I'm going to do that one a little bit more. And there we go. I made a little box. It'd be nice to have some safety edges or something on here, because that's still a pretty rough edge of metal, especially on this side. You can see how my cutting hasn't done a lot. So here we could take it to an anvil, or if we had a forming block or something, we could tap it with a hammer and tap that out. I definitely don't want to be tapping on this machine, but I'll take it to the anvil and show you. So we're in the auto shop now, and I want to use this anvil to kind of straighten this out. And if I just use this corner here, put it in, I can take. And you don't have to hit it hard, you just got to tap it. There are sheet metal hammers out there, but this is a flat-headed hammer, so this will work well. This thing I'm going to do on this side, you won't be able to see this, but I'll show you the before. There's the ugly before. And there's the after, right? So big difference there. I think I'm going to do this to all four corners. There. There. And there. Nice little metal trinket box. There we go. When you're done, you want to make sure you find the metal scrap bin that's sitting over by the sink there and the sanders, and make sure all your metal goes in that scrap bin. Again, being careful not to cut yourself. Not bad for my first attempt with that machine. Definitely some improvements that could be made. It sits pretty flat, not totally flat, and I can see when I'm looking at it, it's not totally square, but that's okay. First time at sheet metal work. Give it a shot and see how you do.